The Salinas Valley in Monterey County produce 61% of the lettuce in the United States, along with 7% of celery, 48% of broccoli, and 28% of strawberries grown in the United States. Around $4 billion worth of food is produced in Monterey County yearly, and almost all of it is picked by migrant workers, both legal and illegal. These workers are exploited by large industrial agriculture companies. A huge percentage of the people that live here are either descendants from people who moved to Salinas to work in the fields, or people who are currently living there and their parents are working in the fields. While growing up in the Salinas Valley, I always had friends that would talk to me about them going into the fields to work during the summers to help their families out. That work is not easy. Early mornings and long days in the heat, bent over, picking produce takes a huge toll on the body. What may surprise you is in an area this diverse with food, nearly 40% of the people that live in Monterey County are food insecure. This is 6% higher than the national average. This begs the question, how does this happen in an area with so much food? How are so many people food insecure? What this project aims to accomplish is to draft ideas of systematic changes both in the government in Salinas and the agriculture industry around Salinas in order to not allow food insecurity to run so rampant. The first and most important step is the U.S. government needs to subsidize small farmers. When looking at Glassdoor, the top 4 agricultural companies in Monterey County are large industrial companies that employ over 10,000 people. This is what you would expect in a profit-driven economy that we live in, where large corporations are able to lobby politicians to pass legislation that favors their donors. That is a top-down solution that could benefit people in Salinas. A piece of legislation that Salinas should pass would be something that says farmers have to allow their workers to take home a percentage of the produce so that they can eat, trade, or sell at farmers markets. Many of the farmers are not allowed to take home their own produce. 38% of workers rarely or never were permitted to bring home produce for family consumption. By making it a requirement for farms to allow people to take home produce, it would increase nutrition at home for the farmers and their families, as well as lower food insecurity. The farms will also be required to provide their workers with seeds of the plants they are cultivating, as well as the government having places where citizens can go get seeds for free from the plants that are around them. An increase in government outreach can push people to learn more about building resilient communities with community gardens and having events where gardeners, farmers, as well as just people from the community can sell and trade and produce and seeds. I went to elementary and high school in the area, and I can't remember a single time where we were educated on the importance of community gardens and practices that could lower dependence on the systems we take part in. I believe that schools in Monterey County should place an emphasis on teaching about sustainable farming practices that promote ownership and self-resilience. If it is a required curriculum, it allows for this knowledge to be passed to young students and can be a grassroots way of getting community garden projects started and maintained. This encompasses self-reliance and ownership. Another big change that I would argue for is to make undocumented workers able to apply and receive SNAP benefits. The plan would require SNAP benefits only needing proof of work, no social security number, no green card, no bank accounts, just proof of income. The companies they work for should also be legally required to educate the farmers, as well as make it a requirement at work that many immigrants are scared to apply because they don't want to mess up and somehow be deported and get taken away from their families. This should also be taught in schools how to have students help their parents apply for SNAP benefits so that students don't have to rely on schools being their main source of food. Circling back to subsidizing small farmers, this helps build equity and ownership for small farmers and increases the amount of revenue within the community. This is because farmers are able to sell to people around them, and since they're not a corporation, they're able to haggle with people, allowing for more produce to be distributed, which helps community resilience. I also believe that an increase of small farmers will motivate more people to garden and take part in community gardens, which helps educate people and allows for people to get fresh produce from gardens. I believe that it's both our and government's job to fix these problems because immigration policies have shaped the demographic composition of Salinas Valley workforce. The vast majority of farm workers are immigrant laborers who do not receive federal assistance or other forms of support. By doing this, we help protect some of the most important farmers in the United States. This country would not function without Salinas and the Monterey County. We need to treat them like human beings, not just faceless workers that are lucky to work here. They deserve so much help, and therefore we must help them. Nobody should be hungry, and especially in an area like Salinas that produces so much produce and food for the world. This makes no sense, and we need to fix this.